Many people pass right by their blessings, not because their eyes are closed, but because they've been trained to notice only what sparkles on the surface. When God releases His gifts into your life, they rarely appear as showers of gold or the roar of applause. They arrive gently, almost imperceptibly, like a faint shift in the air, a quiet stirring in your heart. Yet in a world addicted to noise, that sacred softness is easily overlooked. And when blessings go unseen, they begin to slip away. Not because the divine has stopped giving, but because every miracle requires awareness to take root. If you cannot honor what is already present, how will you ever recognize the greater things on their way? You've been waiting for confirmation, for evidence that you are favored. But what if the signs have already begun? What if your longing, your restlessness, the quiet whispers within your soul are not signs of lack, but signs that something holy is already unfolding inside you? When God blesses you, He sends signals, unmistakable ones, not just to inform you, but to transform you. And once you begin to see them, your entire life starts to shift in ways that are impossible to ignore. The first sign that the divine is beginning to bless you often arrives disguised as isolation. People drift away. Conversations grow shallow. Invitations stop coming. At first, it may feel like abandonment, as though life is shrinking around you just when you expected it to expand. But this withdrawal is no accident. It is a sacred separation. God does not draw you into solitude to punish you. He draws you there to prepare you. Just as a caterpillar disappears into a cocoon before becoming a butterfly, you are being pulled inward so that transformation can begin quietly, away from distraction, away from noise. Within this solitude lies a divine recalibration. Old energies are being stripped away to make room for new ones. The relationships that fall apart, the communities that no longer feel like home, they are all part of the refinement. You may start to question yourself, wondering why nothing feels the same, why you can't seem to connect like you used to. But what you are really experiencing is an inner shedding. God is removing what cannot travel with you into your next chapter. The connections that once made sense now feel foreign, not because you have become cold, but because your frequency has changed. Isolation creates space. And in that space, your own voice begins to rise, not the one shaped by society or influenced by others' expectations, but the voice of your soul, tuned to its creator. It is there that clarity starts to bloom. Where once you were distracted by the demands and opinions of others, now you begin to see your own reflection without distortion. Like a mirror wiped clean, the truth of who you are and what you are here to do becomes clearer. The absence of people becomes the presence of purpose. Those who fear solitude often fear the truth that comes with it. Yet God uses quiet seasons to reveal loud truths. It is in the silence that you realize how much of your identity was built on noise. And as that noise fades, you come face to face with what is real, your values, your calling, your alignment with the source. The solitude you thought was a setback becomes the very setting where you discover your strength. In every era, elevation has required separation. Seekers retreated to mountains, sages to forests, visionaries into caves. Before the divine could entrust them with higher work, they had to be alone with their becoming. The same principle still applies. You are not being excluded. You are being extracted. Extracted from the ordinary to make way for the extraordinary. The loneliness you feel is not emptiness. It is sacred space preparing to be filled with purpose. Eventually, the silence itself becomes holy. What once felt like isolation now feels like insulation. You realize you were never truly alone. You were simply being pulled away to be rebuilt. When God blesses you, it does not start with applause. It starts with absence. Because only in stillness can you hear the signal of transformation. And once that signal becomes clear, everything changes, not outside of you, but within you. That is where elevation begins. Following the quiet of isolation, many expect an immediate breakthrough, a reward, a sign that things are finally falling into place. But what often comes next is delay. It feels as though life is standing still. Goals stall. Progress halts. Prayers seem to echo without response. In these moments, doubt creeps in. You begin to wonder if the blessings you have been hoping for will ever arrive. But delay is not the absence of movement. It is the perfection of timing. God does not operate on human urgency. He moves with intention. What appears as waiting is actually weaving, a careful orchestration of events that must align before your breakthrough can manifest. Much like a symphony needs every instrument tuned before the music begins, your life needs preparation before your moment arrives. The divine, in infinite wisdom, sees connections and consequences you cannot. While you focus on what seems late, he focuses on what will last. Every delay is a refinement of your readiness. You may be willing, but there are still layers being shaped within you. The people you need to meet, the skills you must develop, the habits that still require pruning. These are all part of the silent process happening behind the veil. In seasons of waiting, your patience is not merely tested, it is built. This is where your faith matures, where your trust deepens. The pause is never empty. It is sacred timing at work, preparing you for blessings beyond what you can now imagine. So as you reflect on these truths, remember to let your heart stay open. If this message from Quantum Aligned resonates with you, gently tap the like button and subscribe for more insights. Your journey of alignment with the universe and with the one who designed it is only beginning. Stay aware, stay patient, and trust that every silent season is already charged with purpose. And patience is not weakness. It is one of the strongest spiritual muscles you can ever develop. Patience trains you to hold space for what is forming without collapsing under the weight of doubt. As you wait, you begin to recognize that what is coming is not merely an answer to a request. It is a reflection of who you are becoming. If the blessing arrives too early, it can crush you. If it arrives in its true time, it will carry you. The difference rests in your willingness to trust the unseen rhythm of divine timing. An ancient saying whispers the same wisdom. Though the vision lingers, wait for it. It will surely come. From a human perspective, delay can feel cruel. But from the higher perspective of God's design, delay is a safeguard. You are being preserved. A detour may be blocking danger. A closed door may be shielding you from a path you were never meant to walk. God does not withhold what is rightfully yours. He withholds what is not yet right for you. Often, the frustration of waiting comes from a mind misaligned with trust. The intellect demands certainty, but the soul thrives on surrender. You are not asked to figure everything out. You are asked to remain open, to believe without visible proof, to prepare as if the blessing is already on its way. The farmer does not doubt the seed simply because the sprout is not yet visible. He trusts the soil. In the same way, you are called to trust that what God has planted in your life is already growing beneath the surface. When the moment finally arrives, when the door opens, when the opportunity calls, when the blessing appears, you will feel it in your very bones. There will be no forcing, no pushing, no desperate grasping. The timing will feel precise, not pressured. And everything you endured during the delay will suddenly make sense. The character you built, the strength you gathered, the clarity you gained, all will reveal their purpose. Divine timing is not simply about arrival. It is about alignment. The blessing does not merely come to you. It meets the version of you that is ready to carry it. So if you find yourself in a season of waiting, do not rush it. Do not resent it. Respect it, Because the divine never forgets what he promises. And when the moment is ripe, what is meant for you will arrive in a way that no one, not even you, could deny. There comes a point on the path of blessing when the weight of old attachments becomes too heavy to carry forward. You begin to sense it not as a loud warning, but as a subtle discomfort. What once felt necessary now feels burdensome. God begins nudging you towards surrender, not to deprive you, but to make room. The process of letting go is not about loss. It is the creation of sacred space. Until the hand is emptied, it cannot receive. And so, the release becomes a quiet but powerful invitation to ascend into alignment. Letting go is not always about people or things. Sometimes it is about outdated dreams, old narratives, and inner beliefs that no longer reflect who you are becoming. The roles you have played, the expectations you have carried, the fears you have entertained, these may have served a purpose once, but now they act as ceilings over your potential. God, in His infinite wisdom, will not pour new blessings into a life cluttered with past limitations. So He stirs the discomfort, the restlessness, the inner knowing that you cannot grip the past and grow at the same time. At first, the act of releasing may feel like falling, a kind of death. You might grieve the things you thought would last. You may question whether you are making a mistake. But detachment is not indifference. It is trust. It is the belief that what is real will remain, and what departs was never meant to travel farther with you. Just as a tree sheds its leaves to survive the winter, so too must you shed what no longer nourishes your soul. And just like the tree, what falls away is not the end, but the beginning of renewal. Detachment gives birth to power. No longer chained to specific outcomes, your spirit becomes light. You stop striving and start flowing. The desperation that once shaped your prayers dissolves, replaced by quiet certainty. You no longer beg blessings to arrive, you make space for them to land. This surrender becomes a signal to the divine that you are no longer operating from fear or control, but from faith. And in response, life begins to align. Opportunities appear without force. Relationships form without manipulation. Doors open without you knocking them down. As the team at Quantum Aligned often reminds us, trust this sacred process. If these insights resonate with your journey, take a moment to like this video and subscribe so more seekers can discover this message. There is an old parable that speaks to this. A man clings to a heavy bag while trying to board a small boat. The guide tells him, "You must drop it if you want to cross." The man hesitates, not knowing what is in the bag, yet he feels its weight. Eventually, he lets go, and the boat floats effortlessly. The bag, once thought essential, was the very thing keeping him stuck. So it is in life. Often the things we cling to most tightly are the ones that block the freedom we seek. Letting go is not weakness. It is the highest act of alignment with the wisdom of God. Once the release has taken place, blessings begin to move. Not always immediately, but undeniably. Peace fills the space that anxiety once occupied. Clarity rises where confusion once lingered. And what you feared to lose, you no longer miss. In truth, when you let go, you do not lose anything real. You simply make space for what is true. The divine never asks you to release without preparing something greater to replace it. And when that greater gift arrives, you will understand why the release was necessary. As the unnecessary begins to fall away, a new version of you starts to emerge, quietly, steadily, and unmistakably. Blessings from God are not always loud in their arrival, but they are deep in their effect. One of the clearest indicators of divine favor is the way you begin to transform from the inside out. No longer driven solely by external achievements or validations, your motivations shift. Where you once sought control, you now embrace flow. Where you once demanded certainty, you now cultivate trust. And where you once reacted in fear, you now operate in love. This is not surface change. It is foundational. Character becomes the soil in which your blessings grow. As your external world still catches up, the internal landscape is already shifting dramatically. Qualities like patience, humility, and self-control begin to rise, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because they naturally grow in the space where ego has been dissolved. The noise inside quiets. The need to prove yourself fades. And in that sacred stillness, a new kind of strength emerges, one that does not shout, but stands firm. You become less reactive, more centered, less scattered, more anchored. Others begin to feel the difference, even if they cannot name it. This inner elevation is not about perfection. It is about alignment. Alignment with values that reflect something higher than personal ambition. You start to love without needing anything in return. You forgive more quickly, not because the other deserves it, but because peace is more valuable than pride. You listen more deeply. You act with greater intention. Life no longer feels like a list of tasks to manage, but an unfolding purpose to live. You are no longer just existing. You are embodying the presence of something divine. This is how blessings begin to move through you, not merely to you. Transformation also brings discernment. You no longer entertain every invitation or chase every opportunity. What once excited you may now feel empty because your spirit no longer feeds on mere stimulation. It feeds on truth. You start choosing peace over attention, meaning over momentum, and connection over performance. The outer elevation, the career breakthroughs, the recognition, the abundance, comes naturally when the inner transformation is complete. But these are not the goal. They are the reflection. They mirror what has already been built within. So when life begins to reward you externally, take a closer look at who you have become internally. The elevation you experience outside is a shadow of the growth that has happened within. God does not promote someone merely because they are capable. He elevates those who are ready, those whose inner world can carry the weight of the blessing with grace, wisdom, and love. And when that readiness is achieved, your life begins to rise. Not with noise, but with purpose. After the transformation settles within, the chasing stops. Not because your dreams have disappeared, but because your perspective has matured. One of the final signs that the divine is blessing you is the deep, steady current of fulfillment that begins to flow through your life. This fulfillment does not roar with excitement. It hums with contentment. The constant pressure to prove, to perform, to grasp for more fades into the background. You realize that everything you were seeking externally, peace, joy, validation, was already waiting to be cultivated from within. The soul no longer strains for recognition or applause. You no longer measure your worth by how much you have achieved or how fast you are moving. Instead, purpose begins to lead the way. Each day feels like it belongs to something greater than ambition. Whether you are in a moment of visibility or obscurity, gain or loss, you feel aligned. Fulfillment comes not from having everything, but from knowing that everything happening is part of a meaningful, divinely guided story. As the team at Quantum Aligned often shares, when you live from this quiet certainty, life itself becomes your greatest testimony. If these words inspire you, remember to like this video and subscribe so that more seekers can discover this path of inner elevation. You are living from a deeper center. Service turns into pure joy. Giving no longer empties you because it flows from an inner well of abundance, not from duty. Your time, talents, and resources begin to circulate outward, not out of carelessness, but because you've learned that true abundance travels through open hands. You no longer cling to life with a fearful grip. You meet it freely, generously, and with deliberate intention. Scarcity has no foothold in your thoughts. For you discovered that what is truly necessary arrives in its perfect season. This way of being does not shout about success. It quietly embodies it. In that quiet, you discover what many chase for a lifetime, a profound sense of enoughness. Not because the world granted every request, but because existence itself offered something greater, a life in harmony with your soul and the unseen order of creation. When fulfillment replaces striving, you stop merely surviving or performing. You begin simply to be. In that state of being, you recognize the most sacred realization: you are already living the blessing you once begged for. When higher order blesses you, it rarely arrives with spectacle. The signs are often subtle, even confusing at first. Solitude, delays, hidden inner shifts, a quiet surrender. Yet when viewed through awakened eyes, these are not random interruptions. They are sacred markers, each one a signal that something far greater is unfolding both around you and within you. Blessing is not about collecting more. It is about alignment. As this alignment deepens, what once seemed like struggle reveals itself as purpose. What once looked like loss proves to be liberation. What once felt like delay shows itself to be perfect timing. All along, a wise and timeless order has been shaping you, not merely to give you something, but to make you someone. You were never punished in the waiting, never forgotten in solitude, never overlooked in the letting go. Every silence, every stretch of your soul was part of a precise preparation. Now you begin to see with new eyes. Doors open without force. Peace rises without explanation. Joy finds you without reason. This is not chance but blessing, real, lasting, undeniable. The clearest sign of all is this: you no longer chase what you once thought you needed. You have become what you were always meant to be, whole-rooted, fulfilled. You no longer ask in desperation,